America's Sheriff, Sheriff David Clarke. Thanks for joining us, Sheriff.
John, it's a pleasure, and hello again to your listeners.
So, Sheriff, you're a logical guy, right? Where's logic gone? So you have a portion of a wall near San Diego, and wherever you have the wall, the illegal border crossings are down over 60%. And where you don't have the wall, they're up 90%. How do you make the argument that a wall doesn't work? Just can you explain that to me and our listeners?
No, you can't. It's illogical and it doesn't make any sense. But let's be clear about one thing. You know this, your listeners do as well. Democrats don't want to fix our broken immigration system. They want to play politics with it. They want to use it for political leverage, especially at election time. Schumer and Pelosi, they don't want border security, regardless of what they said yesterday. They want to deny President Trump a political win. So they don't want him to fulfill a campaign promise in light of all the other successes that he's had and promises made and promises kept. So this is, like I've said to you many times and your listeners, this is chess, not checkers. The president understands this. He's better at this than they are. He's better in front of a camera than they are, which is why he wanted the media in there. They were caught off guard, Pelosi and Schumer. They didn't know what to do, but he's going to win this. Now, something that you said that I disagree a little bit with in terms of a government shutdown. I agree with the portion that it doesn't accomplish anything that might take some of the attention off the border issue. However, the president understands this from a playing chess perspective. Democrats always come in at these spending bill times, the omnibus the last time, and they dangle this government shutdown over the heads of the Republicans, and they say, and we're going to blame you for it, even though Chuck Schumer shut the government down last time. The lying liberal media tried to blame it on Trump. They called it the Trump shutdown, so on and so forth. So the president knows I'm going to get blamed either way. Let me get this off the table. I'm not afraid of a government shutdown. That's why he said what he said. Now what do the Democrats do?
That's an interesting perspective. I never considered that, Sheriff. So take it off the table because they have the fear element. You will fear a shutdown because the legacy fake newsers, which run 95% of media, will basically blame you. The Republicans all run for cover. They're all scared. It's a disaster. You take the hit and then you cave, right? But so what you're saying
Precisely.
is the president
and the president knows this as well as to you and your listeners. 85% of the government still continues to operate in a government, quote, shutdown. So all vital services will continue to go on. Many in the American public don't understand that, and they don't know that. I'm talking about the uninformed when I say many. I think the government will completely shut down, that the mail won't get delivered, Social Security checks won't go out, so on and so forth. It's simply not true. But I think it's very important when you're dealing with the Democrats, because they don't want this illegal immigration system fixed. They don't want a border wall because it's a campaign promise, so they're playing politics with it. But like I just said, he took that off the table. They don't know what to do. Whenever you dangle government shutdown in front of most Republican politicians, they run like their hair's on fire. And they'll do anything because they don't want to get blamed for something, even though they didn't do it. So they're dealing with a different kind of cat here in President Trump. He knows how to play politics better than they do, even though he hasn't been in politics, even though he's not a politician. He still knows from his business sense. He understands negotiation. You have to put on the table what you want. You have to put on the table, and this is just as important, how far you'll go. All right? So that's why he put out there that government shutdown. He goes, this is what I'll end up doing. He understands this is a negotiation. He's not going to get everything he wants. I think that's why they threw in this crime bill, because I'm not real fond of that. But he knows, and he said yesterday, the president, I need 10 Democrats in the Senate. The Democrats want that crime bill. So you throw that in. I don't think the president's real fond of it. However, this is negotiation. So he throws that in as, to dangle in front of the Democrats. Oh, you want the crime bill in the Senate? Well, okay, here it is. I dare you to deny the crime bill. So that's why I said from a strategic standpoint, this is brilliant.
Sheriff Clarke, that's why we love having you on. That is a very different, very interesting perspective, one that I haven't considered, and I'm really going to think it through. What is absurd about this debate, though, is the whole budget is like $1 trillion, isn't it? I mean, it's an enormous amount of money. And so they're offering $1.6 billion for the wall, and Trump wants $5 billion. So we're arguing over $3.4 billion of a $1 trillion budget. Trillion. I mean, it is such a ridiculously low number. It's like, what, 0.0003% budget difference? So the other argument is, why are they even arguing over it?
Well, keep this in mind, too, though. And I know you know this, so we were having this conversation with your listeners, but the $1.6 billion that the Democrats have offered, it's not for the wall. They say it's for border security. It's for things other than the wall, like fixing some of the existing fencing down there, some more resources for the Border Patrol. They will put language in there in that 1.6 that it cannot be used on wall funding. So and the president's very keen about this, and he knows that words matter, and the Democrats like to wordsmith. So it really, and actually the $5 billion, look at it this way, the $5 billion the president is asking for is only 1/5 of what he really needs, because he needs about $25 billion to construct the wall the way it needs to be constructed, and will ensure national and domestic security along the southern border. But if you look at it this way, when people say, $25 billion, that's too much money, this country spends more on services for illegal immigrants in this country, illegal aliens. I've heard a number a couple weeks ago, $250 billion a year to finance people who are illegally in this country. So the border wall at $25 billion is 1/10 of what this country already spends on illegal immigration here in the United States. So it would save this country $225 billion just by building this $25 billion wall. So when you start to do the math and you look at the numbers, the president knows this, and this is where the president is good at communicating with the American people. He points this stuff out, because when you do, the person who doesn't eat, drink, and sleep politics like you and I and your listeners, they start to go, oh, man, I didn't realize that. Wow. Yeah, it makes sense to me. And that's where the president, I think, wins this thing, is because he's better at this than they are, and he knows how to communicate with the average citizen.
You know what? You make a very compelling argument here, Sheriff Clarke, for the president's strategy. We're with Sheriff David Clarke. They call him America's Sheriff. You can learn more by going to americasheriff.com. That's americasheriff.com. Clarke, and he's also a senior advisor with American First Policies, the #1 political action committee supporting President Trump's America First agenda. So, Sheriff Clarke, I like your analysis on the shutdown. Let's get to the Dems and impeachment. Like 2 or 3 days went by, and we didn't really hear about impeachment, and a couple of people said, that's insanity. We need to figure out what we're going to do for the American people. But that lasted like 72 hours, and then the bubble popped again, and now they're all over TV again last night saying, well, we're going to have to go forward with impeachment. I just asked a Republican congressman this question, and he said, of course there's no grounds for impeachment, but he said the Democrats are now a slave to their left-wing crazy base, and so they're afraid that if they don't go forward with it, they'll get primaried. What do you make of all this?
No, it's true. The Democrats have painted themselves into a corner by feeding that lunatic fringe of their party who has taken over this party and kicked out the reasonable ones, kicked out the sensible ones. And now people like Pelosi and Schumer, who know there are no impeachable offenses, they got to figure out some way how to feed the beast here that's going to demand it. So they have to keep throwing it out there to fool their lunatic fringe into thinking that they're considering this sort of thing. Pelosi and Schumer realize that is politically dangerous to try to impeach this president, to try to undo an election. The American people don't like that, even with what Bill Clinton did. And I don't mean the sex in the White House. I'm talking about he lied under oath. He perjured himself in that investigation. That's what he was impeached for. He was not impeached for sex. So That was a felony. So to come up with this campaign finance crap, but that even Obama was found guilty of campaign finance violation, and the campaign was fined $375,000. There's no crime in that. There's no criminal offense. You get a fine and you move on. So for them to try to weave something that doesn't exist here, by saying campaign finance violations because his lawyer paid off some smut queen or whatever they're saying that he did. It's just a far reach. The American people don't like it. The American people did not like the fact that Bill Clinton was impeached, regardless of his behavior. They don't like this sort of stuff. They realize it's partisan. They realize it's political. And you know what? The Republicans paid a price for impeaching Bill Clinton. They paid politically. They paid a political price. The Democrats know that as well. They will pay a huge political price for trying to impeach this president.
Sheriff Clarke, I agree with you. That was in, in the 96 midterms, and the impeachment process done at a time where the U.S. economy was really booming along. That was the dot-com boom before the crash, and people's 401ks were up, jobs were up, they were making money, wages were going up, and they just felt that was, like you said, very, very, very partisan thing for them to do. And they punished the Republicans by the Democrats actually gained 8 seats in the House. And it was the end of Newt Gingrich because he was behind the impeachment thing. And, in the second midterm, you never win seats, right? Because you're about to be a lame duck president. And the Democrats gained 8 seats, almost took over. And that was the end of Newt. He had to resign after that for that and other reasons. But you're right. If they go down this path, they're going to get hammered. No question about it. But I don't think it matters because there's no logic. I mean, they come on to, somebody like, who is it from Delaware, who's a pretty reasonable guy? Senator Chris Coons comes on last night, right? Now, he's a pretty level-headed guy for a Democrat. And he says, yep, Trump's going to jail. I mean, this is a U.S. senator. Yep, he's going to jail because they paid Stormy Daniels $130,000, the porn queen, when John Edwards paid 5 times that out of his campaign fund. Then he paid it back, went to trial, got exonerated in an hour and a half. Like, how did they even come up with this stuff? I sit there and I shake my head.
Keep this in mind, John, that the Congress had a slush fund to pay off the improprieties of senators and representatives in the House of Representatives for their sexual improprieties, their sexual misconduct, their sexual harassment. They actually had a slush fund of taxpayer money, and it was to pay not only people for their damages, but also non-disclosure agreements. They couldn't talk about it. So this sort of thing is not illegal. This sort of thing is done all the time. Anytime you sue somebody, if the other side agrees to a settlement, they want a non-disclosure agreement signed. So this is what goes on in civil lawsuits. It happens all the time. So for someone to sit here now and the Democrats, what I'm talking about, and try to make it seem like this was hush money, was illegal, so on and so forth. No, it wasn't. This is a smear campaign that's gone on forever against this president, well, for the last 2 years anyway. And it's going to continue to go on because groups like Sure Blue, groups like American Bridge, groups like Media Manners have orchestrated a nonstop campaign to delegitimize this president. That's what's going on here. They're behind it. It's easy for people to say, oh, George Soros. Now, he might be funding some of these groups, the ones I mentioned, American Bridge. And your listeners should put those in a search engine. Notice I didn't say Google. Put those in a search engine. American Bridge, Crew, and Sure Blue. Find out who these people are and what they're about, because they are behind this whole resistance thing against the Trump administration.
We're out of time. I want to thank Sheriff David Clarke for being with us. He's America's Sheriff. Get more information at americassheriff.com. Thank you, Sheriff Clarke. Thank you so much.